Good day, YouTubers. Salud. Buenas noches. Boa noite. Greetings, salutations, salam. Much love to all. This is Brother Jufre broadcasting from Little Africa in Louisville, Kentucky. Just got in just a little while ago from a little getaway to spend some time with the family and the ancestors. But anyway, take a look at the fish tank, you guys. It's starting to get some algae and stuff, which is a sign of life. So it's almost ready for the fish. Like I said, I just got back in from down in Marion County, which is actually south central Kentucky. It's actually heartland, like pretty much the heartland of Kentucky. It's harvest time, actually, this time of the year. And they have a festival called Ham Days that the family, we all get together and, just have a blast. But anyway, let me get you a couple of facts about Kentucky. We were big on tobacco, horses, and bourbon, and before the list actually included hemp and slaves, two things that are actually illegal to this day. It's a commonwealth, similar to Virginia and a couple of other. I can't remember how. I think it's a total of 4 commonwealth states. And then that combined with the 11 other slave states, they comprise 15 total. And then there were, I think it was about 20 free states or something at the time. Anyway, I love stats and stuff, so I stay messing with all that jazz. So supposedly Kentucky comes from an Iroquoian word meaning meadowland. There used to be buffalo in Kentucky, like in the Kentucky Savannah. It's a big game state. We've got a lot of deer and turkeys and stuff like that. We're actually bordered by 7 states, and then 6 bodies or 6 sources of natural or 6 sources of water, natural, from 3 from lakes and 3 rivers. And also in Kentucky, the city that has the most money and probably gets a lot more glitz. More so than its actually largest city, Louisville. The city is called Lexington, and at that location, there's a lot of large horse farms, and the horses that they breed with the ones that they do with Derby and all of that, and all the hubbub around the money rather surrounding all of that. So all of those horse farms at one point in time used to be slave plantations. And a lot of the slaves were distributed from there southward, like down towards like Corbin, and headed that direction. And then also on the east, like they'd still come down the river from the Ohio River, from like Cincinnati on down to Louisville, and they dropped some slaves off there too, which is where I live at, and is Little Africa. Now, Little Africa used to actually be, the parks near it. I've got a Shawnee and a Chickasaw, which shows there were some indigenous folks here too. In addition to my family, we've got roots here, whatever. I was born in Louisville personally. My princes, they were born in Louisville, so was my big brother. So we've got some really strong ties here in Kentucky, or especially Louisville. Now, back to the story. Those slaves, they were distributed down to where, in the area where my dad and my mother were brought up, and in that area they had the tobacco, the hemp, and the rest of that. So my ancestors were enslaved by the people that are there currently. Probably, and I'm sure there were some black slave owners, and we all get that, but it wasn't like it was equal opportunity. Let's just say that. So they had those slaves. They harvested the wheat, or the hemp rather, and the tobacco. They also, and like I said, you had this bourbon trail or whatever, and I'm sure they did a lot of the dirt work there too. It's actually the birthplace of Southern Baptists, supposedly, by a guy named, I think it said Barton Stone. He was big on restoration and United Jesus belief or whatever, and we all know Kentucky's part of the Bourbon Belt. I mean, not the Bourbon Belt, but I'm sorry about that. Correction, Bible Belt. So it's weird the way the dynamic is when it comes to, okay, hey, church is really important, but then across the street there's a liquor store. So it's really crazy. Anyway, as the European settlers came over here, and they continued to encroaching onto new areas, such as the Virginias. Kentucky actually used to be part of Virginia. It was Kentucky County, and it was annexed at one point in time and became its own place. I think it was everything west of the Appalachian ended up becoming Kentucky, and then of course you have your West Virginia too later. But as far as the original 13 colonies, Kentucky wasn't there. It was just, basically a hunting ground for all the surrounding Indians, for the buffalo and whatnot. And they also used Kentucky to bury their loved ones there as well. So there's a lot of spiritual energy around there. And also Mammoth Cave, one of the longest caves on the planet, is located here. Also Cumberland Gap, this supposedly is one of the few places on the Western Hemisphere, if not only the only one, that you can actually see a moon glow, which is the opposite of, it's basically the opposite of a rainbow, because a rainbow, as we know, is based off the sun and the water and all that. So just imagine that with the moon shining through there, so that'd be pretty awesome. Supposedly it's the most navigatable from a water perspective in the United States, second only to Alaska. 10 constitutional conventions in the first 10 were actually held in Danville, Kentucky, which is Boyle County, which is the very neighboring city to Lebanon, which is where my dad's from. And it's pretty interesting stuff, how it's all tied together. Now, what I'm laying out here is, I guess, at a high level, I had a really great time. Had a chance to reconnect with some family and stuff, and kick it like a fat dog, and have good food, good friends, blood, blood relatives, and just spending quality time. So had a blast. Now in preparation for tomorrow's madness, I'm sure I'm about to make a couple of moves, probably get cleaned up, and get back in grind mode, get ready for the 9 to 5, and do my thing. So with that being said, hope all of you folks have a fantastic day. Now you've got a little bit of background on Kentucky that could maybe spark a little interest in, you come check it out or whatever, and and not only that, maybe inspire you to read a little more about some of the other, states and wherever you're at. Know the true history, the true story rather. I hate to even say history, but the true story behind where you're at, and what happened before, what's happening today, and potentially what could be tomorrow, which is what we would consider the future. But either way, peace be unto you, and have a fantastic day. Salud.